we are here, day 2 of the Women in Business and Tech Conference, here with Gifty Enright. Did I say your name right?
Enright.
Gifty Enright. And we were having a wonderful conversation about how to diversify the female workforce, the female pipeline. So, one of the questions I get asked by women in their mid to late 20s is, how do I think strategically about my career without having to sacrifice a personal life, a marriage, and also children? How do I plan if I do have to work? Let's say they have a partner who can't afford to supplement the income. We're specifically talking about women who have to work. So for those women who can't afford to take a career break, how can they think strategically about meeting their parental responsibilities or start to think in a more helpful way than I think women my generation who thought, just assumed the gender issue was sorted. How can they think differently?
Yeah, and it's interesting when you said, we thought the gender issue was sorted. So figures now in terms of gender parity are pointing to still more than 100 years. It's going to take us more than 100 years to get gender parity. So unless we put some consistent action in place, things are just going to keep rolling on as they are. And as I was telling you, it's got to be a three-pronged approach. There's the individuals, as in us women, we have to take responsibility as well, because at home we are shouldering, the research shows that we're shouldering 75% of responsibility, of the caring responsibility. This is the bit about looking after children, looking after the elderly. We do 75% of that work. And so you can't do that and then come into the office and compete toe-to-toe with the men. It's just not a level playing field. And so it's for us to have that individual responsibility to put boundaries in place to protect ourselves and our time, to leave us fresh when we get to the workplace. And then also when you get to the workplace, organizations have a responsibility. They have to have inclusive practices in place. They need to have, there shouldn't be a pay gap. We need to have that pay parity as well. And in terms of working hours, it should be flexible to allow women to be able to do that combination. And then there's a government in terms of what they can do, when it comes to maternity leave, when it comes to nursery places for children, when it comes to all those support that the women need, is putting things in place, because it's too expensive for the individuals to do it themselves. The corporates might not have the will because they don't know it's in their interest, even though it is. And the statistics showing that, the more diverse your workplace, the better the financial performance. But just in case the corporates aren't buying it and it's a hard sell, that's why we have the government. Government should do things that perhaps individuals can't do, or businesses don't have the imperative. They need to put these practices in place in terms of providing ample childcare places, providing subsidies, that sort of thing, to allow women to be able to really go into the workplace and compete effectively. Otherwise, it is literally like competing with a kitchen sink tied to your back. It's just never going to work.
You've said it so well. It does feel like you have the kitchen sink tied to your back. I haven't had anybody say that, but it's so true. So the other question is related to women my age group. So mid-40s and above. You maybe now, your children are starting to be a bit more independent, and you're realizing actually soon my child is going to have a life, but I've lost my way. Maybe I've lost my identity. I don't know anymore how to go back into the workplace. I don't know what jobs to go for. Technology may have left you behind.
Yes.
So for us, what do you suggest? How should we be thinking?
Yeah, and as interesting. So again, when they're in the workplace and they start having children, because it's too difficult for some people, and sometimes it's just not financially viable to pay somebody for you to go work if you're not making enough to cover that. So it's cheaper for you to stay at home, but the price you pay, like you say, if you literally get locked out of the workplace, it's harder to go back, and you lose your confidence, right?
Yes.
And technology leaves you behind as well. So all those things, and then you end up, when your child is then leaving home and going to university, that's a crisis, because you think, what am I going to do now?
Yes, and your husband can't afford to pay you an income,
right?
So, this obviously doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
If you're on a six-figure million. This is not your problem, so don't come for me. I'm talking specifically to people who have to earn a living.
Yes, we're talking about normal people here.
Normal people.
Yeah,
yes.
And so that's the price you pay for stepping out of the workforce, because it's not easy to go back. But we are where we are. If you didn't know any better, whatever, and you stepped out, or you made that decision, you chose to step out, and now you're finding your way back, you need to get into the right frame of mind. You need to get the right mindset, because I promise you, people that had skills 20 years ago, those skills are now becoming redundant. There are new skills coming up now, like especially now when we're talking about IT. So it's not about reskilling, do you know? So whatever you were doing in the past, there's so many things now that you can go and reskill in, and then go into the workplace, and also focusing on the positive, because now you can go into the workplace unencumbered, right? Because the childcare responsibilities is not as high, it's lower now. So now you can really go and compete the way you couldn't compete before. So you have that advantage. All what you have to do is reskill. It's just most of the time it's just an investment in time, even rather than just money. But if you invest with the money, you will get it back. So I would say reskill and forget about the past and what you were doing and what didn't work out, and just go and engage now that you are unencumbered, and just go and just crush it.
I love that. I really love that. So what about women who maybe took a step down in their career so that they can manage parental responsibilities? I also have women like that who say, you know what, I was offered this promotion, but with a toddler, 2, 3 children, I decided to opt for a simpler job until the kids grew up.
Yeah.
What do you say to those women to get their fire back now the kids are getting independent?
Yeah, and so, because I do coaching as well, and the women I coach, I have women who is like, oh my God, now I got the kids and it's a promotion, I'm not going to do it, I don't want to do it. And I always like, are you mad? Go for it. Really? Yes, I always tell them, go for that promotion, because the higher you are, the more autonomy you have, right? Because when you're lower down the chain, somebody else is controlling you, somebody else is controlling your hours. You have more power when you're more senior, and you can also influence. So the younger women coming up, they need to be going for that promotion, so you can have that diversity of thought in the room to make it easier, because the men out there don't know what is going down. And so as women, this is my call to women, please do not step down or back or sideways because of the kids, right? I'm not saying don't look after your kids. What I'm saying is that it's not the solution. Stepping down, sideways, whatever, it's not the solution, because you end up in a more inflexible position. You end up not being able to manage your outcome. And I've had women who've been at home and they're sitting there just shouting at the kids because they're resentful. So that is not helping anyone, right? What you need to do is figure out how you can take that job and the time management side around it, and getting more efficient, and it's you investing in efficient ways of having it all. I always say to women to have it all, and so that is the precursor. But for those that have already stepped down, stepped sideways, stagnated, whatever, it is still not too late. Wherever you are, start from there is the next step up, right? So what is the next step up? What do you need for the next step up? Do you need more skills? Whatever skill it is you need for the next step up, go get it. Go get a training, and when the role comes, go for it. And even if the role hasn't come, let your boss know you're open for something more, so they'll think about you when the next thing comes up.
That's really good advice. And what about people? There's some people who say they've never known what they like doing, or they have, there's on the other end too many people with too many passions like me, and others who say, I actually have never known what I want.
Yeah.
And so they're way more lost even by the time their children have their own lives.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even have that decade to discover something they love. How can someone like that start?
And then people, so when it comes to purpose and inspiration, people think you're just born with this purpose and inspiration and it's burning inside of you. And for 99% of the population, no. No. You don't know what it is and you stumble from one thing to the other and you really don't know. But I will say start with what interests you. Is what you're interested in. So have a look around. What interests you? Because you will work harder at what interests you. Everything else is hard, and when it gets harder, you will stop if you don't have that affinity to it. So if you're waiting for purpose to come hit you, it's not going to come and hit you. If you're waiting for somebody to say you are really talented at this, so come here, it's not going to happen. You have to take the initiative and start from where you are and start with what interests you and then go from there. Because from there you can keep pivoting and keep pivoting and keep pivoting until eventually you hit something where you think, yes, this is it.
I really love that. So I actually know so many women, let's say they did the thing that you advise us not to do. Maybe when they were in retail and they were offered a managerial position and they thought, you know what, the hours, I need to get these kids first. But now the kids are off and they're thinking, ooh, what can I do that's different? Retail, I ended up doing it because, we all have to pay the bills somehow. But you can see there's a fire in them where they're thinking, I want more out of life. So for someone who's never skilled at all, it's not about reskilling. How can they get the confidence to think, I can learn this new thing that I've never learned?
Yeah. So I would say start from where you are. Start from where you are. And because if you're thinking about the final outcome, it can be intimidating. And then you rule yourself out of the race, right? So let's say you've been at home for 20 years.
Yes.
And you think, oh my God, what is Microsoft Outlook? Or whatever. Do not start from where you are. There are lots and lots of free courses you can take online as well. Google does lots and lots of free courses that you can just do in between time. So start from where you are. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? And nothing is too small to start with. The important thing is that you start because you get more confident by doing.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So just start, just do something, and then the confidence comes, and then you think, okay, I've managed that small, half-hour course. Okay, what's the next one? And before you know it, suddenly,
fully fledged accountant helping us pay less taxes.
Exactly. So start from where you are. Nowhere, nothing is too small. So long as you're interested in it, and just pursue something that you're interested in, and the confidence comes from the doing. If you're sitting and waiting for the confidence, you will never be confident. Start doing it, and then from that you get the confidence to do more and bigger things.
You know what? You've sorted our whole mindset out. I can't think of any type of woman I haven't covered. But for anyone who has questions or comments, I will get this lady back. I'm pinning her down. We need her on this. Full length ones coming soon.